Hi everyone. I'm back with Man of Letters, and we were going to dive into the topic, the controversial topic of mixed race, and spirituality about um, and science behind races. Or and people will argue, oh, there's no such thing as okay. Well, let's just say frequency or the amount of melanin in the skin one has, and where their DNA makeup came from. Because I don't know. Um, if we're talking to a broad audience, we need to keep things in broad uh, language so that they can understand what we're talking about. So, what do you think, man of letters? Why did you want to discuss, or do you think it's important to discuss this?
The first thing that came to me was um, a comment on one of my videos recently where someone said that black people shouldn't be mixing with white people, that they should basically stay within their own race. And since I'm of mixed race, obviously I took that um, to heart and more than most people would. So my idea of being melanated versus being non-melanated has always been from a evolutionary standpoint.
Mhm.
Dark skinned people don't get burned. So that's why dark people tend to live closer to the equator because the atmosphere is thinner at the equator, so the UV is much stronger at the equator. Um, Plus, it takes us a lot longer to. Black people have to be in the sun 4 or 5 times as long to get the same amount of vitamin D as a white person. Again, because white people living in the north sometimes they don't see the sun for 4 months at a time, so they have to be able to produce vitamin D instantly because they might not see the sun again for 3 4 weeks, so that was always my perspective. But then watching your videos, Ishira, watching other people's videos, and just reading content, there's a lot of dialogue and conversation around, well, melanin has a lot to do with absorbing different frequencies and being able to one of the things is melanin helps keep the pineal gland decalcified. So our pineal gland is our connection to source, supposedly. So it's like, are dark colored people more spiritually because they have more melanin in their skin, or is it strictly an evolutionary type of thing where we need it so that we don't die living near the equator, which is where dark people tend to come from. Um, that's
Um,
kind of
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm coming from.
okay. So, I'm sure everyone's going to ask, what are you mixed with?
My mix is, oh, probably should have even pulled it up to show you guys. It's my biggest mix is at about a third West African of like 5 or 6 different countries, and then um, the next three biggest groups are Native American, like to the southwest coast, right where I'm living. Actually, Native American um, and Scandinavian are about the same amount, both at about 19-20%, and then Spanish also. So it's like the biggest is 33% West African, and then it's native Scandinavian, particularly Sweden and Denmark, and then Spain, and then a whole bunch of others like 1% Middle Eastern, and I even have some like Eastern European. I have a whole bunch of shit going on.
So, to simplify it, what is your mom? What's your dad? Like, I know people just want to say it to the point. What
Um,
what are you? What does your mom identify as? What is your
my
father?
mom identifies as Mexican, and I've never met my biological father.
Okay. So, is your biological father African American?
Yeah, but I don't know what he is exactly. I just know that he's. But according to my mom, he's got green eyes. So there's a lot of the mixes. My guess is the Scandinavian is coming from him, if he has colored eyes.
So he could be like Creole or something like that.
Possibly, yeah.
He could have been from Louisiana, or he could have been from the islands. You know.
That's my guess. If the African's coming from the father side and he's got colored eyes, he's definitely mixed with some kind of Creole or Southern or Caribbean or um, but I also have the Scandinavian in me, and my mom doesn't have Scandinavian. So the Scandinavian is coming from my dad. So he could be even like a half white, half black mix. I'm not even sure.
Yeah. Okay. So from my perspective, um, I was actually watching one of your videos, and you were talking about how religion, or something about religion, and you were talking about the Tower of Babel and how
Correct.
all the people worked together to build this tower. And the gods came back and said, "Wow, they've advanced so much since they, joined and together to build this thing. They're almost equal to us." And they destroyed it and made people not have the same word or the same language anymore, so that they couldn't reunite to become like or better than the gods.
Then the gods, absolutely.
And I broke down, or I decoded that story. And when you decode something, with alchemy and symbolism, the word, the word is a frequency, because when you speak, sound comes out. Sound is a frequency. A frequency is a light. Okay? Um, every person that has a different amount of melanin has a different frequency. So the word or the language, the group of words, is your amount of melanin in your body. So that doesn't mean they spoke different languages. It means they were all the same race. If you break it down, because things were written in code so that people couldn't figure it out. So when they did do that, they became very powerful because there was no separation. And even if you watch that old Michael Jackson or Jackson 5 video, Can You Feel It? At the very end, the Native American and the little mixed boy hold hands, and whatever comes out of the sky, they're smiling the biggest and the most. So according to that video, they liked what they saw. And according to most DNA analysis, natives and mixed people have most of the DNA worldwide in their DNA. It's like
Hmm.
I did my DNA test, and I'm from everywhere in the world except for like I don't think I have a lot of I don't think I have like 1 or 0.1% Asian, but everything else is up in there.
That's pretty much how mine was. I pretty much had everything except for Asian in there. Polynesian islands were in there, but not Asian.
Right. So I think that the separation is what causes the most issues, and that's due
It
to,
is absolutely.
yeah, it's how we look. It's the differences in how we look. If everybody looked the same, you're more comfortable around your own race, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So what if you were everyone was the same race and they were all comfortable around everyone around the world? It would be
That
just a big party and one big union, right? And a lot of people say, "Oh, you're pushing race mixing." I'm not pushing anything.
that's where I'm hitting up against a lot too. Is the race mixing, and it also it seems like just like you said with the Tower of Babel, the problems come from the separation, and we preach oneness so much, and the benefits of oneness, and the source of power coming from oneness, and then I get just the man, just because I talk on both sides of race, just because I'm interested in all of it, and I get such resistance, and I've been called that I preach race mixing and stuff like that, which is why I made that video that you brought, the Tower of Babel, and I'm saying I didn't look at it so much as code, because the Sumerians had that original Tower of Babel. The Bible isn't even the original story of that. I took it as literally that there was a race at one time, and maybe it wasn't even a race, like they were all white, they were all black, they were all whatever, but they were one language, one community where they all worked together, and specifically they all understood one another, because misunderstandings is where conflict comes from. It was where fear comes from, and we all know fear leads to all kinds of shit. Um, so that's why I can't understand why people can be so for oneness and so anti coming together as one people at the same time. It's definitely interesting.
I like to think about China.
Hmm.
Let's think about China. They're mostly the same race in that country. In that, and they all work together. They have a structure, a system. They work as one because their race. There's not a lot of mixed races in China. There's not a lot of this and that. It's all one. And so they are more productive, you know,
Absolutely.
and because they don't have to worry about, oh, well, this person over here may be racist against me. So I don't know if I trust them, or they may have grown up in a different culture or values than me, so they're not going to understand me. Or I don't know if they're truly wanting to build with me, or are they trying to do this? There's less suspicion. There's less miscommunications because they're all very similar in culture, and they all very similar. Well, they are the same race, basically. Now, I'm saying the word race. I know a lot of people say, no, race doesn't exist. Y'all are being technical, but I'm speaking in layman's terms so people can understand what we're talking about. So, what do you think about that? That's a good example, right?
About China, yeah, that's the exact example that I wanted to use. But my next question was, how much of it um, is true? Because my recent divings have been in the pineal gland and its association with melanin production and melatonin, which is where melatonin comes from. Melanin, serotonin, a number of crucial hormones that the body's producing is coming from melanin. Um, so it's like, without being leading in one direction or the other, I'm saying, is there something to it? Is there something to darker skinned people having some sort of advantage because of the scientific literature saying melanin is a phenomenal hormone and it's worth more than its weight in gold? Like, if you look up the cost of melanin to produce, it's literally worth more than gold to buy the stuff. Um, so that's where I'm like, I want to be oneness, but at the same time, it's like, well, our colored people added advantage for having this connection to a hormone that um, has all these miracle workings on the body, on the soul, on the psyche, on the spirit. Um,
Hmm. Um, it's
that's the direction I was going in.
Yeah, the best way scientifically to describe melanin is like a solar panel, a battery.
Exactly, it's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's a solar panel.
In Emerald Tablets, the children of the sun. It's like they're many suns. The Yeah, children of the sun, and they call the sun, the sun, the sun. You or melanated, dark, medium, melanated people react differently to the sun. So like you said, the vitamin D aspect, but you're also getting information from the sun as well,
Hmm.
because light carries information. You're also getting energized through the sun. You're also storing energy through the sun. You're also converting that energy into something else. It's also activating and making your DNA better. It's not doing the opposite. So
Yeah, melanin actually can repair radiation damage to DNA. Part of what melanin's job is to fix damage. That's kind of where I was getting with that. So, um,
so like
what would
people are not wanting to dilute their melanin, but then on the other side,
yeah.
their melanin because they feel like, well, black people, melanated people are not treated as great as people with lighter skin or white people. So now they want to dilute their own melanin by bleaching it. And, because I've had people come to me and say, uh, what do you think about skin bleaching? I'm like, I don't think you should do it.
Yeah, fuck that. What the hell?
Because now you're going to need your melanin. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
'Cause if you haven't noticed, the sun is getting brighter, and the ozone and the electromagnetic field has
Getting thinner.
moved or opened,
Hmm.
or whatever you want to call it. It's a hole. So you don't have like the point is we didn't ask to be we didn't ask to be mixed race. Our parents had a thing for the other race. You know, my mom liked Puerto Rican men, and mostly African anyway. So your mom might like green-eyed black men. Okay, we
Yeah.
were just born. We had the best of both worlds. So we just enjoy the best of both worlds. But I grew up with my mom and not my dad, and you probably grew up with your mom and not your dad. So we have the opposite. So I relate more to African American, um, culture and thinking versus my Puerto Rican side. And you probably were
Straight Mexican.
your Mexican mom.
Mexican and white.
So I don't. Do you know Spanish? Because I don't.
Nah, I could get by with the neighbors when we're like having beers and shit, but that's about it. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to better, if it's better for you, whether you have more melanin or less melanin, is I see every race as being equally to access whatever spiritual point that they want. Um, and I tie it in. If I don't know if your listeners follow the Hermetic philosophy, but mine or I've been trying to pitch this on to my subscribers. The law of correspondence is one of my favorite ones, and that basically says it's the as above, so below one. And so I look at that's why I like to use science and say, okay, why are people near the equator melanated, and what does that help them do? So basically, what I'm kind of stringing together is dark people um, need to be in the sun longer because the melanin takes longer to react. White people don't need to be in the sun very long to get the same amount of vitamin D. So I'm seeing it as white people or less melanated people can absorb information faster, just like they get sunburns faster. That's the correspondence. Like, yeah, they burn real easily and they'll die of skin cancer much more frequently, but it's because they're absorbing the information via the sunlight much faster than dark people are. So it's not saying dark people are better. They're just, or white people are better. It's just their bodies are reacting to sunlight different. So it's like every animal is going to be different because their environment is different. That doesn't mean one animal is better than the other. It just means one lives in the snow, so it's going to have thicker fur, and one lives on the equator, so it's not going to have to fight for food as much, which is one of the things why they think people near the equator are more happy go lucky, a little nicer, a little friendlier, is because they don't have to kill each other over resources because there's tons of water and tons of sun at the equator, so there's tons of food. So they don't have to fight each other as much as the people in the north do, which is why they think people in the north kill each other so frequently because again the sun disappears for 3 months, and if you haven't stockpiled food, you're gonna die. So you need to, it's like eat or be eaten kind of thing. So that's what I'm trying to preach and trying to get across to people is it's not one's better than the other. It's one is designed differently than the other because we have different roles. And if we can understand that, then we can start to bridge that gap. We can start to communicate a little better. We can get back to one language and one common goal so that we can be like the gods again and start rebuilding the Tower of Babel, whether that's metaphorically speaking or literally speaking. Um, that's my take on the melanin situation, on whether it's good to have more or bad to have more, good to have less or bad to have less. It's all perspective, basically in a nutshell.
Um, I mean, yeah, that sounds like the scientific thing that I also read and researched. So that sounds like what I've researched as well. But getting to a more spiritual aspect of it,
Hmm.
the point that a lot of people don't even think about, but I think about, is when you leave um, this life, like when you transition, when you die.
Hmm.
That is when it really kicks in, and it's very important
The
because
melanin.
yes, because
Uh-huh.
it takes you somewhere else. It takes you further. It determines whether you can leave the earth and reach the heavens. So,
Yeah, that's where also what I wanted to ask you about, because I watched the video where you talked about that, but I couldn't wrap my head around it. So
so
paraphrase that, break that down for me.
okay, so you have melanin. Oh, you have melanin, right? And
Correct.
when you die, it turns into the fourth state of matter. The gases escape your body. The electricity, the gases escape your body. That's why they used to do the mummification process in Egypt, where they used to
Uh-huh.
take your organs and put them in the canopic jars. There are certain organs that hold more melanin than others, like the kidney, things like that. So they would take the most melanated organs, put them in the canopic jars, put them in the sun. You ever seen that Egyptian um, painting, or not painting, but carving with Akhenaten holding these canopic jars up to the sun?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's sending back the plasma, which is the fourth state of matter, the spirit, the soul, the electricity, through the melanin to get through the ionosphere to get back into the and through the through the electromagnetosphere to get back into the heavens. So in order to blast through the wall or the shield that protects our earth and our ozone, that's our ozone, it has to be at it going at a certain speed.
Hmm.
Melanin travels faster as uh, as plasma energy versus non-melanin or less melanin. So, for example, um, you would become a gamma ray if you have a certain amount of melanin, which is super fast.
Mm.
If
As compared to like a radio wave or something like that, you're saying.
or a microwave would be what most
Uh-huh.
white people are, so
Uh-huh.
not be able to pierce through that veil. So either they have to be a ghost, a spirit on the earth, reincarnate, or they're not able to reach the heavens. That's why they're called children of the earth.
Fascinating.
And that's why in the occult, you hear a lot of people sacrificing animals like goats and lambs. Lambs and rams, and they have a lot of melanin in their organs. So when someone does like burnt offering to the Lord back in the Bible days, it was sending their message up into the heavens.
Hmm.
So that's where that comes from. And the blood of the lamb represents melanin. So when they say, "Oh, you are covered with the blood of the lamb," they're talking about your melanin. So that's why.
So what would you say about what would a Caucasian person or someone who's not very melanated, how would they address that? If they don't have much melanin and they're not blasting off,
They got to get rid
what
of
let
the melanin. They got to get rid of
yeah, get
the melanin. They got to make it get the melanin and get the melanin absorbed into their system through childbirth if they're a woman. So when you're a woman and you're pregnant with a child, that child sends its stem cells through your entire system. You know, um, and if you die together, your spirits will intertwine and mix, and that person will become one and be able to get out. That's why in the occult, and they say like the Illuminati people are always sacrificing black people. You know, all these black people. When they die, they got to sacrifice somebody to get up out of here. They might become one with that person's energy and soul, but at least they get to leave. You know what I'm saying? And when they come back, if they decide to reincarnate, and go learn like Thoth. If they decide
yeah.
to incarnate, they have to come back through a black body and be reborn through Christ, through the blood of the Lamb. That's what they're talking about. Everything in that Bible is code for melanin. It's the whole Bible is about race. And people don't want to focus on that. And people are uncomfortable, but they say they're Christian or they believe in God or they're scientific. Even frequency is about race or
In
melanin.
terms of melanin, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the amount of melanin because that's dark matter.
Uh-huh.
Plasma with melanin that speeds up faster than the gamma ray is called dark plasma. aka dark matter of the universe. That's why you are connected to the universe when you have melanin. So you have melanin, I have melanin, the blackest person has melanin. We have different amounts of melanin, but if you have enough to get to the heavens, that's kind of really all that matters.
True.
Mhm. But you
But
must, but the best part about it is to educate yourself and know who you are, what you're capable of, and why these things are. And it'll open up so much more information to you. So knowing the importance of it allows you to treat people that are heavily or more melanated a certain way versus another way. You know what I'm saying? It changes how you treat people as well. Because if the masses knew this information, they may treat people a lot different. You know what I'm
yeah, they absolutely would. And themselves. They would treat everyone different.
saying? So, in order, most people think this is a controversial topic, but if you put the information and the science out for most people to get, things will change if you put the information behind it.
Yeah.
And no one's begging for melanin except for the people that really need it. Mixed people did not choose to be mixed. Just like black people did not choose to be black when they were born. Now, maybe before you reincarnated, you might have said, I want to be black. I'm coming through a black mother. You might not know that black mama was going to walk around to get them a different race. So, oh well, I guess I'll make the best of this. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
if you really just think about it, they didn't know. And the second most melanated group or person with the most melanin on the planet are Mexicans and then Indians from India. So you still do it.
Indians are dark as hell.
But melanin also has something to do with your organs, where you are, like the equator, like you said, and
Yeah.
who you're mixed with. Because the Olmecs were from Africa, then the natives were mixed with the Olmecs. So you still have African inside of Mexican.
Yeah. Um, the mixing is, I don't know. I feel like when you're talking about information coming from the sun, um, it's almost like it's like exactly like you said, it's a photoreceptor. And if you're further from the equator, you wouldn't need to have as much. But one of the crazy things I just learned yesterday is um, black people, highly melanated people, specifically African American people, after they were dying in Vietnam, they were doing autopsies on them. They used to rule out the pineal gland and say the pineal gland is just, I forgot the word, but it means it's useless in science, and it's just a calcified gland your body doesn't do anything with. And then they started seeing these African Americans coming back from Vietnam. 80 to 85% of them had enlarged pineal glands, and they're trying to figure out what the hell is going on with that because Caucasian people, 80 to 85% of them had calcified pineal glands. Trigger was melanin. Melanin has a huge role in reversing calcification. Again, it works in combination with the vitamin D so that it takes calcium out of your soft tissues and then puts them where they're supposed to go, like in your bones and your teeth. Um, so it's almost like some people aren't just meant for certain shit. It's like if you have a lot of melanin, you can handle a lot of stuff. If you don't have a lot of melanin, you got to be careful with fluoride toxicity, with calcifying your pineal gland, um, even shit like getting sunburned. And I know that I'm speaking of in terms of like, oh, that's the science side, but I think it's the same exact thing because I believe that science is only explaining the spiritual. Not that it's not disconnected at all. At all. It's just saying that this is how the spiritual world works inside of the body. You know what I mean? It's not that it's any less magical or any less anything.
That's true.
It's just a hell.
this is, and that's so true. This is not new information. In fact, a lot of the elite people that are white, they know this, but they
Oh
don't
yeah, absolutely.
keep it to themselves, of course, and then they put a little bit of melanin in their bloodline to keep it from to keep to give them some melanin in their bloodline, but they still can pass as white.
Huh.
So, like the Queen of England, she had an Aunt Charlotte who was mixed. Then they bring in Meghan Markle to keep that
To
amount.
keep it in.
Mhm. So they keep reintroducing it every couple of generations, and it's almost like their little loophole. But yet they a lot of people still treat you know the very people that are allowing them to get to the heavens, less uh, than they are supposed to be treated. So, and exploiting them on a certain level. So I feel like that's where a lot of the anger comes in because we know this, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so you know you need us, but you treat us like trash. Okay, um, the elites anyway.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
now that all this information is online and easily available, the information is getting out, and people are getting exposed for what they really are. And now people are starting to look more at the science of it and to why melanin is so coveted,
Yeah, it is.
which is good. This is a good thing, right?
Melanin is worth a fortune.
Y'all remember when they said I will make men into gold? Will make men into gold. What was that from? I forgot what scripture that was from. I think it was the story of um, Solomon and Beelzebub or something.
Uh-huh.
Um, so that's what they were talking.
Radiation protection, antioxidants, cosmetics, ultraviolet light. $350 per gram is what melanin is worth.
Right. So if y'all don't know, Man of Letters, he has a YouTube channel. Y'all can go subscribe to his channel. Man of Letters. I put his link in the description. But I definitely think that topics that people try to stay away from need to be discussed the most. You know, I have a mixed audience, and I think YouTube and social media is a way for people to discuss, you know, issues that are controversial with more of, a level mind.
That's the goal, at least. You gotta talk about this shit.
So I don't feel as a mixed person, I don't even really feel mixed.
Hmm.
I feel like when I go to the store, I'm not white. That's what I
Uh,
feel. Okay. I still get asked, can I help you 1,000 times when I walk into a store? Now, if I'm really dressed up, got on some nice a nice outfit, and I look
looking all fly.
happy about it. But if I walk in there, if another lady who's dark skinned and, horsehair walks in, she may get followed and asked the same type of question. So I'm getting the same type of treatment. Now, when it comes to other things, you know, a lot of people feel like mixed people are favored or sought after in uh, relationships or by black men or whatever. And that's where some things come in like, well, blah 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 blah. But I didn't do that. That was your man. Go check the man. You know what I mean? Ask why he is more interested. But the point is that's just programming because you don't know your value. If, like if you knew the value of melanin, if you knew the value of this and that, then things may be a little bit different. Or maybe it's nature wanting to create more melanin in that being, you know? Oh, I see someone that needs some melanin. Let me go give her some of my melanin. It could be that.
Nature has a way of doing that. Nature always tries to balance things out. Absolutely.
You know, it says be fruitful and multiply. You know, when like in the human body, if there is um, a cell or something that may need to be regenerated or strengthened, immunity wise, there are certain antigens and stuff like that will rush to it and repair it. You know, and it doesn't have to think about anything; it just does what it does. And if you look at nature, we have consciousness as well, but when we were talking about the Tower of Babel, when everyone was connected in the same, there was no need to pause and ask yourself questions and think about, this and that because everybody was the same. Mhm. Like whenever you see movies with aliens. Oh, did he get cut? Oh, there you go. Whenever we see movies with aliens, we don't see a bunch of different types of races of aliens. We don't see a light.
Right? I've always thought that too. It's always the same. It's all humans. We're all mixed up.
We don't see an alien with slanted eyes and one with a big butt and one with no butt. We see the same green thing with the big eyes.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we might only be seeing their warrior aliens or their ambassador aliens. If we're on their planet, we might see like, you know, the hillbillies of the alien race and whatnot. Um,
Thank
like,
you. I got a donation.
oh, nice. Um, yeah, but it's like you take a person like a dark ass African or a dark ass Indian where they're just midnight, and you put them in Sweden. Um, that bloodline is either going to have to lose all its melanin or die or get the hell out of Sweden to survive. Because if it needs 3 hours of sunlight a day to not go into depression and to function properly, then it's not going to survive there. So the variation. I try not to go too far into like I said, like how would I say this? Either a conspiracy theory behind it or some kind of evil behind it, um, or it's we have access to the spiritual realm and we can tap into that spiritual realm, and because we're humans in the physical form, we're susceptible to the physical laws of nature, whereas by literally you need more or less sunlight depending upon where you're living and what your skin tone is. So
True.
maybe the idea of nature was, all right, I want humans to all be spiritual, but and melanin is going to connect them to the spiritual realm, but at the same time I need to protect them from radiation poisoning. So if they're near the equator, I'm going to give them more melanin. um, but at the same time, humans live where there's 3-4 months of darkness. So I would need them to be connected to the spiritual realm, just like my Africans are. So I'm going to have to give them less melanin so that they can absorb as much information through the sun as they possibly can in that 15-minute window they have of sunlight. So instead of seeing it as um, you need melanin to get to places, it's more like you don't need melanin, you just need to be able to receive energy, and melanin is only that receptor of energy. So
You
it's like
need it
um
because
what's that?
I'm going to tell you why you need it. Because the electromagnetic sphere and the ozone around the Earth
Uh-huh.
is not always there. It can be removed
Correct.
or can be gone at any moment. That's
Uh-huh. In
why
that case we would all die anyways though.
Well, not really, because a long time ago, before there were people that were less melanated, it was
Uh,
all, African people.
uh-huh,
So, and the sun was bright, and
uh-huh.
there were less veils around the earth. So now those veils are being lifted at once again.
Hmm.
That's what the big deal is right now. The veils are being lifted again because of
Yeah, 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 yeah.
the electromagnetosphere. So now that that's why a lot of people are trying to go to Mars or trying to build underground,
All the cities and
that's what they're trying
yeah.
to do that for. And because they're not the radiation, not the heat, but the radiation alone and the
Hmm.
electromagnetic frequency is going to start to damage mitochondrial DNA of the less melanated people. Their frequencies are going to change. And like you said, it's going to, I mean, go watch the news. There's like, people are going crazy.
Uh-huh.
So you're going to have to, sustain. If you have less melanin, you're going to have to sustain with supplements, maybe copper, maybe melanated foods that have a lot of melanin. They even have melanin injections that they're selling that you can take. So if they can afford it, but eventually that's not going to work. And they're going to have to figure out something or mix. That's why they're pushing the mixing agenda on every commercial. If you don't watch TV, if you turn it on for about 30 minutes on a channel where there's commercials, most commercials will have a mixed couple, a mixed kid, and they're pushing that. So that's the only way for the less melanated people to continue on without going inside the Earth or to Mars.
Or move back to the north.
If the North doesn't have the ozone and the poles shift, it's
But I mean, there's less. So the radiation
going to be through the entire
comes.
world.
Yeah, but when they say radiation, it's not just nuclear radiation. Sun UV is also considered radiation,
That's the
and
radiation.
there's less UV in the north because the atmosphere, like you're saying, is thicker. So, like if you're looking at the globe, right at the equator, the sun is hitting it straight on. So it only crosses, say, 25 miles of atmosphere. But at the north, because it's at an angle, the sun is crossing 60 miles of atmosphere. So all that UV is being filtered out. So there's not that much radiation in the north, which again is why there's white people in the north, because they don't have to be protected because there's not as much radiation via UV rays and the sunlight. Whereas Africans are getting blasted with radiation via UV rays in the sunlight because there's no atmosphere really at the well, there is, but it's just not as thick as in the north. Um,
But there's two norths. There's a magnetic north and then the directional north.
geographical. Uh-huh.
So the magnetic north is changing.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what used to be north is not north.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think when that happens, you just have ultimate cataclysm. I don't think nature can keep up with the drastic switch like that. When I speak on north and south and melanin and not, that's like a slow gradual evolutionary process where nature has time to shift and evolve to its ecosystem.
There's more than
What's
nature.
that?
There's more than nature involved now. Man has stepped.
Uh-huh.
Man has stepped in,
Man is from nature though.
and man creates through technology, science, and art. So man has stepped in where nature leaves off. And that's what you forget.
Uh-huh.
That's the one thing you forget. So that's we have to.
But who's to say we're not part of nature's plan since we were born from nature though? You see what I'm saying? Like we didn't just appear. We are of or like we for all we know, we could be nature could be like, cool, I'm gonna create humans so that I can accelerate my agenda. You know what I mean? Because
That's
that's the power of humans is that we can accelerate what nature's already. If we're good at being humans,
mhm.
which we should always study nature to progress, because then we learn sustainability, we learn harmony, we learn ecosystems, and the ebbs and flows of what's already in place. So I think humans are an extension of nature, but we just fuck it up sometimes because we forget that and we want to act out of our ego, out of separation instead of oneness. So that's my honest standpoint. Ooh, I can't hear you. You
That's
lost.
oh, I said that's exactly why they're pushing race mixing.
Mm-hmm.
And say humans stepped in and they have technology to remove the veils around the earth in order to get
Uh-huh.
people to unite.
Ooh. Is that what you think, or is that what the system is trying to do? Or both?
I don't know nothing about that, but let's just say that's what was happening
Uh-huh.
to push it faster.
Uh-huh. I can see that.
Join us or die. Y'all, do you remember
I
that
can
cartoon of the snake that was chopped up in a bunch of pieces before Civil War?
no.
That's what they're doing. They're trying to push the human race to join as one race or die.
Do you think that's good or bad?
Um, according to what I know, I think it's
Uh-huh.
good because
Uh-huh.
the person that created this technology may or may not have had a fair shot in life due to them being different.
Uh-huh.
That's all I'm gonna say. So
I would agree with that.
the person that created such things that could do such things was not given the chance or given the recognition that they deserve.
Uh-huh.
So y'all, I mean, I'm pretty sure y'all can figure out who that was.
Um, that's actually a really good idea or concept, or not that it's good, but interesting, the join or die thing. Um, extremes tend to not do very well in nature, you know?
Win-win because everybody can leave and go get to the heavens when they die. Return if they want. It's a win-win.
Would you return?
After I learn some more stuff, and then I can. I mean, I would go out like Thoth did in the Emerald Tablets and learn a bunch of stuff, and then come back and be like,
Same. Fuck, same.
right, come back and be
Same.
like where I left off because I have this huge head start. I'm going to be more advanced.
Yeah.
So if I did come back, like Thoth came back, he just came back to teach and help evolve the
Yeah.
human race.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, all of the gods wore masks. All the gods wore masks. And when they came in human form, they came back in certain areas. They came back in Egypt. They came back in Central America. They came back.
Yeah.
They came
Yeah.
back to places, like you said, near the equator in brown or black bodies. They didn't come back to certain places. Those other types of gods were adopted from the original god.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were going to come back and manifest as a god on the planet Earth, knowing what you know, would you come back black or white?
Mm, true. Well, I mean, I'd rather have more melanin, but if I had the choice, but if I was coming back to live in the far north, I would want to have less melanin because I would want to survive.
Well, you could always travel.
Or leap. That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's
Um,
but the point is that they understand if they got there in the first place, they had melanin.
uh-huh.
They got,
Uh-huh.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah. Someone says I have on my lumberjacks shirt.
What's that?
Someone said I have on a lumberjack shirt.
Lumberjack.
But that's why we're discussing it because a lot of people don't take that into consideration that the reason they got to the heavens in the first place is because they had melanin.
Mm-hmm.
If you were reading the book of Enoch when he says, I came back and God gave me new garments so that I could be like him, that's the sin. That's the
So you're saying God is black?
The frequency. Because, like, if you're in outer space, you're not a body. You're a frequency. You're
Correct.
a gamma ray, a radio wave, or
Well, I'm getting fat deja vu right now.
microcolor. You still have a consciousness, but you're not a body.
Yeah. Yeah, I made that black comment because it was there always has to be a corresponding element on the physical realm when we do finally reincarnate. For example, your skin is now dark from the melanin. That would be the physical correspondence.
So
What's that?
as above, so
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's like my favorite part is finding the physical corresponding part to these wonderful spiritual concepts of melanin and spirituality and blasting off into outer space and being able to absorb frequencies and information through sunlight and shit like that. There's always a corresponding physical element. Um, Happiness is a hormone, you know what I mean? That's its physical corresponding element. Or depression has a hormone that's released, that's its physical corresponding element.
but
Oxytocin is almost a physical corresponding element to love, you know, it gets released in your body.
all of that can be changed through a frequency.
Yeah,
So,
it can be.
right, like that. That's why
That's magic.
it's like shapeshifters, more advanced beings can shapeshift because all they have to do is change their frequency. It's like
Yep.
a hologram. You change the frequency of a hologram, you can change, the color of
Yep.
it and all that. So it's
Mhm.
a frequency change. So instead of
Mhm.
thinking like, I know you correspond as above, so below, but we tend to focus more on the below than the above.
Uh-huh.
That's why
Uh-huh.
people don't look up at the sky anymore. And the only way they look
Uh-huh.
at the sky is if I take pictures of it and post it on Facebook. So
Uh-huh.
we need to be looking up more because we're already here. We know what's here, but
Yeah, I agree.
we
I
think
agree
it's one,
wholeheartedly with that.
right? Because that's our ultimate goal.
Uh-huh.
Be like,
Yeah. That would be one of my faults, would be paying too much attention to the physical corresponding parts. But I think the reason why with me is because that's how I connect with the average citizen. It's like, all right, I understand that you won't know what the fuck I'm talking about when I say melanin and absorbing information from the sun, but they will understand UV radiation and your melanin absorbs that. You know what I mean?
why you told
Um,
that first.
yeah.
Go straight into the nerd.
I know, guys.
The group
Yeah, definitely.
for real. No energy really dies.
Yeah, never.
Never dies.
Never. Just gets transmutated from one thing to another.
Right. So that's why you start off with the science because you can back it up.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunately or fortunately, whatever you want to see it, it's useful for our day and age. There's just it's easier that way, you know. I saw, oh, that's super funny. I saw a great meme yesterday, and it was a picture of the Trojan horse. And it was like me, and then the Trojan horse was reasons why you should take psychedelics disguised as a regular conversation. And it's just, you go and have a regular conversation, but the goal is always to drop some knowledge, and you just have this Trojan horse of knowledge hanging out in your back pocket. Because if you can't get people to listen to you, you can't connect with people on their level, then your teachings are almost useless.
So to teach in the same language, there's certain
It,
languages that we all share, which is science. Everybody shares science.
mm-hmm.
That's
Today is science.
speaker first.
Mm-hmm. Which changes constantly anyways, you know what I mean? Every scientific quote unquote fact gets altered within the following decades. Speed of light isn't even a constant. Gravity is not a constant. There's no constants really in the universe. Science tries, but it doesn't. 99% of the time it really misses its mark.
But the thing about science is it unites people, and all
Yeah.
they have to share what they know
Yeah.
to advance as a human race.
Yes, which brings us back to the Tower of Babel. We got to come together and communicate with each other, be on the same level, so that we can be like the gods again.
That's why on Independence Day, when Will Smith figured out how to kill the alien, they had to tell
Damn, my boy Will Smith.
the world.
Uh-huh.
See? Spread the word and I think that was in Michael Jackson's Can You Feel It? Spread the words to the marching men who are killing each other that hate won't do. Or take my message to your brother and tell him twice. You know. So that's basically saying, when we have science, when we have knowledge and we share it with the rest of the world, um, and things like that, science is that right now, that universal language.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
So that's why
That's very true.
that's where we have to start, even though it's constantly changing. It's constantly changing because everyone's sharing what they have.
Yeah, because life changes. You study the Emerald Tablets, he'll tell you right there that there is only one constant, and that is the was oneness. Everything else from it and constant change, night to day to night, slow to fast, hot to cold, love to hate, even.
And it says, I don't know if I know you know Prince. I don't know if how old you are, but it says
I
you can
mean, I know of Prince.
know that song "Let's Go Crazy." It says you can always see the sun, day or night. Where can you always see the sun, day or night? In the heavens. So that means you have ascended in energy form or light body form to the heavens.
Okay.
So that means
I was like, how do you see the sun at night?
there's no night in outer space.
Yeah, there
So
you go.
you hear like new age people talking about the cosmic realm. That's outer space, baby. That's outer space.
uh,
Cosmic realm is outer space on a molecular level of plasma energy. That's
uh-huh.
cosmic realm. That's the molecular level of plasma energy in outer space. Scientifically, that's it.
Yeah, you can all. That's funny.
That's,
Prince just dropping knowledge on us.
oh yeah, he was very awake. Okay, well, I gotta go. I gotta go. I stayed on here a little bit longer than I was supposed to, but I have to end it. But thank you for being brave and wanting to discuss this topic and sharing, you know, um, your information. And I learned something from you about the Tower of Babel, and then I took it from there. And then it's exchanging what you have in order to become better.
Yeah, we fill in each other. We fill in the gaps.
There shouldn't be a debate. There should just be sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's all it is.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, sir. Always appreciate it. Nice chatting.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Bye.
Yeah.
Y'all go subscribe to him. Y'all go click on the link in my description box. Man of Letters. All right. Thank you. Bye.